thing I try to share with people is like, make the most of what you have, like experience life, soak it up, work hard for that, whatever it is, but like allow yourself to enjoy the process, because that's where we spend the majority of our time. Once we reach that goal, that time at that goal, like all the time on the podium is very small compared to the amount of time we're spending in that goal.
You're listening to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, a podcast where I have conversations with inspirational people. My name is Chris, but my family calls me Kristof. My goal is to have as many conversations as possible with people who have forged their own path by pursuing their dreams, making them a reality, all the while emitting positivity and sharing this knowledge with others. I seek these people out and share this information with you, proving to the world that you can do what makes you happy and do what you want for a living while being a good human being. We'll talk about careers, but we'll also cover any story that inspires. Let's do this while helping each other. Thanks for listening. I'm happy you're here. Hey, my friends, welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast. This is conversation number 76, and I'm absolutely ecstatic that you're here with me today. I had the wonderful and the great and powerful Margaux Alvarez as my guest today. She is the founder and the owner of the GOAT Wine and a 6 times CrossFit Games athlete. I had a wonderful conversation with her. I had a deep conversation with her. I had an emotional conversation with her, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. And I know you will too. We opened up about a lot of really important topics here and just discussed her many endeavors and adventures. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do too. Remember, you can catch this conversation and all the contemplations on kristoflewis.com/podcast or on your favorite podcast app. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just telling you off camera, like I was so excited to talk to you. Your story, like I don't even want to say like your story. That makes it sound like fictional, but like your life, like everything you've done is super inspirational to me. And that's what I'm all about. I was kind of telling you, like, I really just want to talk about your career transition. And that's what I like to talk about, and how you got into everything that you got into. And to me, like just knowing about your, like, there's so many things that you do, like CrossFit, the wine, God, I mean, there's just so many things. Like I was looking, obviously you do, you lift, you skydive, you shoot, you do like all these crazy things. Like I was like going through your Instagram today, and just to like remind myself of all of the crazy things that you do. But I think the wine story is the craziest to me. So I want to kind of get into that in a little bit. But for those people that don't know who you are, can we do like a micro synopsis of who Margaux is?
Okay, sure. I'll try to think of like how I can condense it. So I was born in Southern California, La Jolla. My sisters and I were all born there. I love La Jolla. So we lived there for about 5 years, and then after my youngest sister Remy was born, we moved up to Seattle, Washington, and we were there for about 3 years. And then after that, I think it was too much city for my parents, and so we moved to Montana. Yeah. And I think Montana was a pivotal part of growing up and who I was. But lived there, graduated high school there, and then actually went to Hawaii Pacific University on Oahu for school. Cool. Was there for 5 years. And then after that, I moved to the Bay Area. I had family and friends there, and was there for about 6 years. And that's where I found CrossFit. And kind of during that time, I would go back to our family farm where we have grapes, and we would harvest grapes. And I would do that for about a week to 2 weeks. And that's kind of where I think it's always been a part of my blood and who I am. Just because I'm named after Chateau Margaux, and so I feel like it's kind of part of who I am ever since I was little. That's really cool. That's when I started. And then after that, in 2014, I left California, ended up moving around, lived in El Paso for about a year, Montana, went back to Montana for about 7-8 months to help my grandma and my mom, and then moved to Utah to start doing more of the wine. And actually moved to Vegas last year to build the brand and build the company and expand and be able to do more with that. And so that's kind of a very
Yeah, like there's years and years and years and moves and like tons of stories and emotions and stresses and just like so many ups and downs in what you just listed. Definitely. So no, I appreciate that. And one of the things, obviously I'm familiar with your Instagram and what you do, but for those listeners here, I actually just wrote something down that I wanted to share with everybody real quick that you have on your website. about how you got into the wine deal, and you said,
Yeah.
all the logistics were handled. Alex, your fiance at the time,
Yeah.
Alex learned filming, editing, photography through YouTube, web design through Squarespace, guerrilla marketing, wine logistics, and taxes. And we began selling apparel as a way of investing money. And then every dollar made got recycled back into the project. And finally, after 2 years of hard work, we were able to find $2,600 a month to pay the two of you for a yearly salary of $31,000 and $200. And I that stuck out to me because I think, especially in today's day and age, a lot of people are looking for the quick fix, how to make money quick and be rich quick, millionaire overnight. And I think it speaks a lot when you have an influence on so many people. And for you to be like, well, listen, like I've done all these things, like you just said, you like moved around and done all these things, and you have a wine business now. And I always like highlighting people like this specifically because from the outside it looks like, wow, like 6 times CrossFit Games athlete, owns wine, does all of these things. But hold on, let's pump the brakes a second. Let's like peel back the layers and like see how this individual got there, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think people don't like us on the outside looking in, like you don't see like all the layers that go involved or everything
Yeah.
that goes into it.
Yeah.
And until you're in that position,
Yeah.
starting your own business or like running your own podcast or all the nitty gritty details that add up, it's like timing, logistics, pay, being able to try to do everything in 24 hours. And it was hard. Like when we decided to start, like we decided 2016 would be the first harvest we wanted to try to capture to be able to sell. And it's like you're trying to juggle. At that time, Alex was juggling flying back and forth from Utah to California for work. He was working as a nurse.
Okay.
And I'm trying to juggle training, making sure that I'm still doing that, doing our online programming and making sure we're harvesting. And then from there, like there's so many things that came up first. Like you have to really understand that there's going to be a lot of hard times ahead of you, and knowing that the money may not be good. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be spread thin. And it's tough because it's like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I can do it all. I've always been that type of person where it's like, whatever I got to do, let's do it.
For real.
And I think obviously that's how I was raised, but that's just the mentality I've had, whether that be in golf in high school or CrossFit after that, or my career, whatever it was. It's like, I need to make sure I do whatever I need to do. But it's like, there's a lot of downtime where you're in like the thoughts and you're in your mind, you're thinking, am I going to be successful? And there's going to be times where you have those thoughts, but it's like, you have to keep pushing forward. But you just have to be realistic with yourself of like, what's this going to take?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you deal with those thoughts? Because I'm the same way too. And I think most people, at least with the thoughts, like everybody has negative thoughts. A lot of people do, especially when you're trying to better yourself and you're putting yourself into these unfamiliar situations. Like you said, you had done a lot of things for a long time, like you did golf, but like so many things are brand new to you in a sense of like you don't just happen to get at CrossFit Games or in wine and things. And when you're getting into them, like it's easier looking back having done it. But like in the beginning, you have no idea if you're going to be successful or you're going to fail temporarily. Mind you, temporarily, I say specifically, I interject that in there, but like you have no idea, and so I guess quick question, did you have anything that you had started that maybe didn't take off?
I'd say, I mean, I guess I look back and like some of it would be programming, like we did our online programming.
Okay.
And that was something launched in like 2015. And looking back now, like Alex and I have talked about it, like how we would do it differently and what we would do. Like we would for
you
sure
learn from it.
100%. And it took off, and we had people sign up, and there was membership, and there was an interest, but it's like the way we executed it could have been differently. And again, like you won't know until you go through that experience. And it's tough because like when I first found CrossFit, I was very enamored by it. I was like swimming in the Kool-Aid, as I would say. And like after that first me watching it, I was like, I want to go to the games. And I told people that, and people were like, yeah, okay, cool. Like they didn't necessarily believe me, but they were like, sure, whatever. Like, okay, I keep thinking that. But it's like in my mind, I wanted to get there. Was I going to get there? There was no guarantee like in my hand or ability to say, all right, I'm going to get there. But it's like through that hard work and the patience and over like 2 years of training, I qualified that first year. So it's like, there is going to be that unknown. And I think like you asked, like, how do you deal with that? I think the biggest thing is like looking at your day, like set those long-term goals, whether the long-term's a year or 6 years, whatever, but short monthly goals and even daily goals. And our biggest thing with our company and our business with the wine is our mantra of like, it's kind of funny because we say work hard, wine down, like a play off that wine.
Love it.
But the overall principle it's like, bust your butt in the gym or your career or your
Mm-hmm.
schooling, whatever it is. At the end of the day, relax and unwind, whether it's a glass of wine or like
Yeah.
bonbons on the couch,
Sure.
hanging out with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Make sure that you enjoy yourself, because through my experiences in life, like not every day is guaranteed and things can change at the drop of a hat.
You're
And
absolutely
so
right.
the biggest thing I try to share with people is like, make the most of what you have, like experience life, soak it up, work hard for that, whatever it is, but like allow yourself to enjoy the process, because that's where we spend a majority of our time.
Yeah.
Once we reach that goal, that time at that goal, like all the time on the podium is very small compared to the amount of time we're spending in that goal.
Wow. I love everything that you just said. There's so many great things. Make sure you have time to relax, experience life along the way, because it's so good to have all these goals and these hopes and desires and dreams that you formulate into goals that you actually have, they're tangible and that you can go after them. But once you obtain them, like, it's great that you have them, especially like CrossFit, like you're on the podium, that's a great thing. But enjoying the process, and then say if you're working hard on the wine business in your example, like you're working, well, are you enjoying life in the process? Because like I said, and I know you're very familiar to, life can be short. I know some of the things you've experienced. 9-year background in the Navy, just got out last year. I've experienced, unfortunately, things of that nature as well, friends of mine, and I understand like that as well. So I do think it's a great point to point out, like, yeah, you can bust your ass and you can work really hard at all these things, but like for me, in a smaller example, like not like 6 years or 10 years, but like at the end of the week, like I work really hard Monday through Friday. I even work on the weekends, but I know when Friday comes, I don't work as late in the day, and I enjoy definitely the rest of the day and the night with my family. You know what I'm saying? And it feels deserved. Like I don't feel guilty for like having a pizza and watching Netflix for a few hours, because I know like Monday through Thursday and even on Saturday and Sunday for hours in the morning, like I'm busting my ass. Like I work a day job, then I do the podcast, then I have like a plethora of other things that I do until like 10 or 11 at night, and I'm up at 5:30 to do it all over again. Like, and I know you're no stranger to that. So yeah, I highly want to pull that out from what you said, and you interjected that greatly in there. Like, enjoy it, and it's don't feel guilty about enjoying it, for sure. And then
and I think a lot of people I've noticed within like the fitness realm, like you're working towards fitness goals, whether that be CrossFit or figure competing, Muay Thai, whatever, MMA. But I think we get so wrapped up in like the process, and again, we should be in that process, but it's like you should be able to enjoy it at the end of the day, because it's like, man, you just spent so many hours training, or you spent so many hours doing this. It's like, I can't relax, I can't have a piece of cake, or I can't have a glass of wine. And obviously I can't speak to other people, but I know for myself, it's like I'm busting my butt every single day in the gym or on my job or my company. I'm traveling a lot, so it's like at the end of the day, for me to relax and like just take that moment in, it allows me to like really be present there. And I think that's, as a I guess as a human race and a society, we get so caught up in the next things, especially here where it's like the next thing, this thing, that next goal. And that's great to be driven, and I think that's really important, because that's the characteristic that I've always had as an individual. But I think it's really important to like slow that moment down, stop and smell the roses, as much as the cliches.
No, I love it. The cliches for a reason,
because we get so wrapped up in it. And I think it's like you said, like you bust your ass and then you relax and you enjoy it. Like celebrate the pizza, have a cake, have a glass of wine, like be in that moment, because it's like you may not always have that moment.
You may not always have that moment, and we get comfortable because we expect to wake up the next day. But I even know on the point of like enjoying it, like honestly, that pizza tastes so much better, and the hours that I spend doing not work or spending time with my family feel so much better. Like because they're earned. So even though maybe like in the athlete example, like you may be on the podium for only like a few seconds or minutes or something, but like that's so much juicier, right? So even like in a goal setting like that, or like we're saying in relaxing, like if you've busted your ass for it, then like enjoy it. Enjoy your time at the podium. Enjoy your time not at the podium, on your couch. Like if you've worked for it, then enjoy it. So I definitely love that you've said that. And going back to one of the things I pointed out on your website was when you said Alex learned to film editing. Like all of these things that I listed off, like if you're not listening to what I'm saying, like he went on the internet that most everybody has, and he like taught all himself and you, I'm sure, some things like how to do everything. So like I always a lot of, like I said, I have a plethora. I'm pointing to a whiteboard. Everybody knows I have a whiteboard here, and I have all these things I want to do, and sometimes I get frustrated and I go, how the hell am I going to do all this stuff? And then I stop myself and I go, well, I know why I want to do these things. And just like what you guys did, how is never the issue. It's the issue initially, but you can learn how to do it. But why do you want to do it? So I wanted to pull that out and interject that again. Like, I love that you guys were able to do that. It's so cool. It's really awesome. And one of the other things that I picked up in one of your interview or something, oh yeah, it was your American Ninja Warrior, like the video you sent in, which I think is, first of all, badass. For that, but I picked out a little tidbit of the plethora of good things that you said, and it was that ever since you were a little girl, you said you wanted to help people. Now, one of the huge things I focus on like career transition, helping people, bettering ourselves through self-education or formal education, whatever's best for you. But I always like asking people, and why do you like helping people? And I think it's even more interesting in your case because, like you said, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to help people. And how did you recognize that within yourself at such a young age? And how did you intend to imply that?
I think it's a great question because it's something I've always felt innate, and I think being the eldest of all three of us daughters, sisters, I think it was like I felt like it was my role and my job to like take care of my sisters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's something as a little girl that was something like, all right, I'm just gonna be a part of. And then everything I did, I felt like anything within the service. Like I remember this was my junior year of high school, and it was Thanksgiving Day, and they had a sign up sheet for us high school students to volunteer to serve Thanksgiving meals. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to do that. Like help give back to people. And it's like, I think it was for 2 hours from like 9 to 11 on Thanksgiving morning. We were in like at a Denny's or something like that. All these families came in that didn't have the money or didn't have the means or didn't have the place to go, and serving them. Like it was 2 hours of my time, and like trying to like not cry, like because it was emotional because these people didn't have families to go to or didn't have places to go to. And it's like, and I'm helping them with like a one meal, like holy crap. Like that's something that for them is monumental. And maybe for me or other people didn't see that, but I remember that as something that stuck with me. And I remember someone was like, well, why would she do that? Why would she like go spend time helping someone else? It's like, it's a holiday. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's a holiday for them to celebrate as well. And I think that was a point, even though I was in my teenage years, that was a point that I was like, man, like I really want to help, and I want to continue to help. And I think that's just continued on into college. When I became a personal trainer, when I like moved to the Bay, I think it was the same thing. Like I love fitness. I love the health industry because I want to be able to improve myself and be the best version of myself. But then I also want to help others.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah. Or like wherever they came from, but I want to help people. And I think part of it also stems from like my sister passing. Like I wish I could have, again, as an older sister, wanting to help and protect her. Yeah. And then not being able to do that 100% like that. I think something that's been innate in me. It's like, all right, even though I couldn't like help or save her, maybe I can help or save someone else by sharing my story and sharing whatever I'm doing to hopefully inspire someone else.
Damn, that's heavy. Thank you for sharing that. That's super heavy. Like that's hard for me to not get choked up too with you just talking about that, that's tough, but that's like, that's beautiful that's it's so deeply rooted, and it's just so amazing that you do that. And one of the things you said too that I liked is that you want to help yourself while helping other people. And I say all the time, like I do solo podcast versions of this too, and I call it my verbal journal because I'm like instead of writing on a notepad, I'm like doing it for me. So I'm like helping myself by getting my thoughts out and talking out loud. And I can listen to it later, and I can hear my tone. I can hear my anger, my frustration, my excitement. I can hear it instead of reading it. But at the same time, I'm able to capture those words just like we're capturing this. And somebody else is going to listen to this at a later point. So to me, I think it's so cool to be able to help yourself and help other people at the same time. That's why I like talking to people like yourself, because it's like, all right, it's cool. Let's work on ourselves. Let's like really kick this into gear. But at the same time, it doesn't stop there. Like, go out there and help other people. And unfortunately, terrible things happen to us and the ones we love, and you don't have to experience those things to want to help other people. But I think when you experience those things and you still choose to help other people, I think that speaks a lot for yourself, because you could choose to like curl up in a ball and just be like, honestly, F the world. Like, this is unfair. Why did it happen to me? And I'm sure, like, I'm sure those thoughts come to your head because we're all human beings. We all have these emotions, but at the same time, like, okay, this sucks. This is really terrible. Like I was talking to Dakota Meyer the other day, like, Medal of Honor recipient, and he's like, worst day of his life, but now, he lost all of his friends, but now he's able to like talk and help people in the same thing. So like these tragedies, we can turn them into something great, and you've done just that, and you've like expanded on it in a million different directions, and that's why it's like it's so cool to talk to you. It's just
I think like you said, I think like you sharing your story and me sharing my story and everyone else sharing their own story, like we all have, maybe we can't reach everyone, maybe we can't help everyone, and I know that that's maybe physically impossible based off the numbers, but it's like if I'm able to share my story and maybe inspire one or two people and help them through a tough time, or help them at least feel like, man, I'm not the only person, or I'm not the only person going through this, because it is easy to go down a rabbit hole and get into the point where you're like, oh, I can't be happy because this person's gone, or I can't continue on because they're not around. But I think the biggest thing, like you said, is like that mindset and the positive thinking, and being able to say, like, and it is hard, like you have to pull yourself out of there.
Super hard.
Super hard. And if you can at least, again, help yourself, because by helping yourself, you in turn will be able to help others. And to be able to continue forward, you need to do something to give back to yourself, like feeding your soul or feeding your mind, your heart, whatever it is. But that in turn will be able to kind of enfold, help others and share with others. And again, I think not everyone may be receptive to it, but it's like, why not try? If I share my story and only 5 people listen, then maybe those 5 people can in turn help another 5 people. Like down that road. And then eventually it's helped 100 people, which, like, man, like you may not realize it, but it's like every person has a friend or a family member, some sort of connection. Down there.
It's crazy. It kind of reminds me, like, if you, like we were saying about before, starting your wine endeavors and your CrossFit endeavors and all of these cool things and amazing things that you've done now. Like we were talking about, like how you don't know how it's going to turn out when you start, obviously. But at the same time, I kind of see like a comparison between helping other people. So like, okay, so I have a podcast. You do a lot of things with all the people that you can reach. So we're like, all right, so maybe somebody says, well, only reaching one person is only one person, and you guys affect thousands of people's lives. Well, think about it in this, you have no idea how it's going to affect, because that one person talks to some other person, talks to some other person, and that word of mouth spreads like wildfire. And then with the 6 degrees of influence, which has easily gotten knocked back to probably like 3 or 2 degrees of influence with social media, like that's going to spread way more than you think. Even though you maybe hit one person out of 100,000 people that you have influence on, it's going to be way bigger than you ever think. So that's like, I'm always like, I'm also huge on like, don't sell yourself short. So like before you start CrossFit or this, I don't care what kind of business adventure you want to, a business venture, and I guess it's also an adventure, but like before you, like, that was a good slip, like like before you start something, like, and like that's like, I say the same thing about the podcast. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, sometimes I really don't feel like doing this anymore, because it can be really hard, because I do it by myself, I do everything, and I'm like, this is super hard. But then I speak to people like yourself, and I'm like, I can't stop this. Like I don't ever want to stop this, because it's good for me. And then like I know somebody like always texts me, DMs me or something, and goes like, that super hit me, that was awesome, thank you. Like even somebody like in your case, like unfortunately, I lost somebody close to me, or I hear it in the military too. Like this happened with me. Like again, when I connected with some military people on the podcast, like we both lost people in the same valley in Afghanistan. Like that's crazy. Like, and there's you can affect so many people. And again, like those degrees of separation are few, getting very, very few, and you can affect way more people positively than you ever thought possible. So like I'm always like, get out there, start, and like don't sell yourself short and get after it.
That's a great way to like, I love the don't sell yourself short, because I think it's super easy to do that, because those thoughts of like doubts or uncertainty, like they're gonna be there, like and it's tough. Like if you try and go for a goal and it's like, well, what if I don't make it? It's that fear, but it's like you won't even, if you don't try, you won't know. And it's hard that having that mentality, I gotta at least try. But if you put yourself out there and you attempt it, then it's like at least you took a chance. And if you're not successful, to the people that really care aren't gonna care if you were successful or not. They're gonna be
Yeah.
there supporting you, like, hey man, like you got more balls than I do because you
For
went out
sure.
and did it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, that's how I
So
feel sometimes, and I have to remind myself that all the time. And it's so funny. Like I literally just posted on Instagram. I'm so lame sometimes, but I was like, if you don't try, my math tells me that you have a 0% chance of succeeding. So I'm no math doctor, but I'm pretty sure that's the math. And no, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, you must have had like a million doubts through all of these things. Like it's hard to like. I think if we just focused on one thing, if we just like focused on CrossFit, or if we focused on wine, or just your personal life, with things that you've dealt with, I feel like we could talk about a lot of obstacles that you face. But out of everything that you've dealt with and worked through and successfully completed and competed, like has there been anything outstanding that's been like, this has been a really tough obstacle, but I made it through. I didn't think I was going to make it through, and I'm so much better, and this is what I learned.
yeah, it's tough because it's like I think of all the things that
That's what I'm
have
saying. Like
went
with you, it's
left.
super hard.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think
Damn
being
it.
able to like not, I mean, obviously I knew in my mind, like being able to overcome the passing of my sister. I knew that's something because in my
Sure.
mind, I wasn't going to like succumb to that to the point where I wasn't going to overcome it. But having the outlook of being positive and like kind of living in memory for her, living the
Yeah.
lifestyle that she
Yeah.
did, that was, I think was really powerful and moving for me. I think, like starting the company
Mm-hmm.
was in my mind, I was like, man, we can totally do this. Like, it won't be that hard. Like, I mean, it'll be challenging, but like
Yeah.
we'll be
Yeah.
able to do it. And then getting there and like getting through the licensing and getting our licensing and then trying to get the wine into distribution. It was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like this is hard because
Yeah.
it's so saturated. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, what if we don't get the wine out there? Like, then
Uh,
no one's going to be like, oh, like what your wine company, what happened? Like, did you not make it? It's like, and I think until you get into that nitty gritty and you're like, man, there's so many logistics and legal laws, like with alcohol. And it's
yeah.
like,
Sure.
in my mind, it's like, are we like, do I want to continue to do this? Like, do I just want to say F it, throw in the towel and say, I'm done? Like, and it's hard because you have those thoughts, but I think
You do.
like just relentless and like just keep trying. I think that was probably like last year when we got into distribution here in Vegas, and it was like, okay, like, like not like I guess like a
Awesome.
sigh of relief, but also like, okay, we did it. Like it's a small step, but it's a small step forward versus a small step backwards.
It's a huge
And I think
step,
that was,
though. Yeah.
yeah, and it's tough because I think you get so many no's and you get so
Yeah.
many like doors slammed in your face. That you're like, son of a bitch, like again, again, and again. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let me try a different door. Like having
Sure.
that mentality, it's tough, but it's like you said, that's a huge step. And I think when you're in that process and involved with it, you don't really see it because like it's all around you. It's
Yeah.
all consuming it. Then you take a step back and you're like, holy shit, like you see the
Mm.
value or you see what you did, and then like and in our case it's happened like months or year after it
Yeah.
happens. It's like
Yeah.
you just get so caught up in it. And I think another point was when we first got the license in 2017. It was like the week of regionals, like middle May or whatever that was, and it was like, yay, we got the license. Okay, compete for regionals. It was like,
That's
and it was a
bonkers.
delayed like 3 or 4 month delay celebration when it's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, like we got our license, like we can sell wine, like oh my god, this is amazing. But I think again, giving yourself that pat on the back is important,
Yes.
and got to give yourself that recognition. And
Yeah.
as much as I like praise people and like love sharing like accolades with people, I need to do a better job of giving that accolades to myself, or
Seriously.
giving myself
Yeah.
a pat on the back. Like, hey man, be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
But it's tough because it's like you want to push that envelope and you want to be able to do more and do better and improve and constantly be able to provide.
Yeah. It's a fine
And so I think
line. It's a fine line
yeah,
between like
it's very,
being able to push yourself harder and harder and harder, and then like you said, pat yourself on the back, and like you said, take a step back and be able to
mm-hmm.
view it from the outside. For me, that's been really hard to do. Like if I was to talk to myself a year ago and see where I am now, like I'd just cry my pants right here. Like boom, like holy crap, this is insane. But now I'm like in
Yeah.
the thick of it, and I'm like, I'm pretty stressed out, and I'm not 100% sure of the direction I want to take my life, and I have a lot of options on the table, a lot of options that I haven't discussed on the podcast, and I mean, we'll see how things go, but you just, I kind of always go back to like, I do the freaking best I can every single day, and I know that I'm going to make the best decision I possibly can when
Yeah.
when they arise. So I think that is what helps to keep me going. But I do, like you said, it sounds like you figured out a way to at least step back and pat yourself on the back, because I need to get better at it. I'm telling you, I need to get better at it.
But I think it's the same thing, like giving yourself the accolades, giving yourself the recognition for like what you are doing. Like you're taking a step, you're doing the podcast, and it's like it's tough to do it all by yourself. Like it's like a one person job or one person like
one man band. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's huge props to you for what you're doing, and that's what I think people don't realize. It's like, oh, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And I don't think people. It's like behind the curtain. I always think of like Wizard of Oz. You're like, oh my God, it's like pull back the curtain. You're like, what?
There's
like,
so much going on. Yeah.
There's not much going on, but on the opposite side, it's like there is so much going on, but people don't understand or see it because they're not involved with it.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's something we try to share with our story. It's like, hey, like it's a 2-person team. Like, yes, we have our fulfillment center in California, and we do the wine distribution through there for sending the wine. But it's like, who's putting the orders in? Who's managing the sales? Who's managing the marketing, advertising? Like that's all us.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like people don't see, not that they have to see it, but it's like understanding what goes into it. And it's like, it's a lot of stuff. Like, so same thing goes for you or anyone else working on their project, whether that's their full-time or part-time or whatever they're trying to do. It's like, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think, again, unless you peel back the layers and you really see like what's going on with the core, it's like, oh man, like there's a lot more than what you think or you anticipate.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people stop stuff when they start it. Like, I've talked to, and no disrespect to anybody I've talked to if you're listening to this, but I've talked to a lot of people that said, you know, how do you podcast? How do you get into it? And I've like, listen, dude, I've literally written up a program with links to everything you need to buy and how to do it, where to go to set it up, where to get it on every single endpoint. Like, I know how to do it. And like, I don't think anybody's done it. And it's just crazy. Like, cause you're right. You don't see it. It is a lot of work. All you see is that I release 4 episodes a week. Like, that's it. Like 2 30-minute episodes and 2 like 8 to 10 minute episodes. That's it. That's like less than an hour. No, that's more than an hour. I'm so bad with math. I know that 0% or whatever. I like all you see is like 70 minutes of like work, but it's like somebody asked me the other day, and I mean it's hours and hours and hours a week. So it is tough. And I think people see like the end point, like, wow, that would be so cool to like have a winery. That would be so cool to like compete in the CrossFit games, and that would be so cool. Well, it is cool, and it is awesome. You know, pat yourself on the back, but dang, there's a lot of shit that goes on in the back.
Yeah, it makes me think of like that. Like, do you see that image a lot of like an iceberg or whatever? Like the very tip of what people see.
Real life. Like, this is real life. Yes, 100%. Like that's like another that's like another cliche that you were talking about, cliches, and I was like, cliches are there for a reason. And like the iceberg is like legit. Like that is 100% what starting any endeavor is like. And I love how you brought it back to that. And honestly, I can't believe I hate sometimes getting to the end of these podcasts because I just want to talk. And talk. And I was like, I can figure out how to do all the other stuff I need to do later. This can go on, like, but
we always push it later.
Yeah, for real. Like they can wait. But honestly, Margaux, like this was, it was a great podcast. Thank you so much. And
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
It's like, absolutely, 100%. Like talking about, first of all, I was like, how am I gonna like have a conversation with her when she does like so many different things, and she continues to do so many different things, and you've had all these experiences, but I think we kind of touched on them pretty well. And I appreciate you like opening up into all those things, and then like your personal things as well. And I think all those are important because even though we, you know, in your case, like even though you love your fitness and your business and like all these things are tied together, you know, because we are one person and we are the one person that experiences all these things. And like we both said, like we're human, we have emotions, and our personal life affects our business life, whether we wanted to or not. Like we do a good job to try to not do that, but
it's all interchangeable.
Yeah. So when I see somebody open up about it, well, like you have, and like I said, like frick, for a second there, I was like, I gotta pause for a second, but no, that means a lot to me. Yeah. No. Screw it. Like this is my podcast. I'll cry if I want to. Like,
exactly.
You know, like.
That's awesome. And I think when you find other genuine people like yourself that can understand that and you can connect with, and like doesn't matter like around the world, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Like I think that's really important. I think a lot of people I've noticed, like you kind of get into this mode. It's like, oh, how are things? Oh, they're good. That's great. You just kind of go through the motions. It's like, hey, and I don't think a lot of people open up. And I think part of the reason is because either they have a hard time opening up, being able to share something. But it's like if you can find someone to connect with, then like share away, as long as the receiving individual or party is like willing to open up and hear that too. Cause like it could be like a one-way street. We're like, oh, I want to share what's going on. They're like, whoa, that's a little too much for me. And it's like, hey man, if you want genuine connection and genuine relationship, don't be afraid to share stuff.
For sure.
Like being open and being available. And again, everyone has their own experience. It's all different. But it's like, you want to connect with people, you have to be willing to like open a little bit of yourself and share that.
Yeah. And that takes practice too. That absolutely takes practice. Where can people find you? What Instagram, your website? I know there's a lot of ways.
I know, so many ways. So Instagram would be 321GO, like GAUX. And then our website's thevineyard.space, and that's where we have our little bit of a story on there, and then our wine as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
The one wine we do have, we have the goat wine in Vegas, and we have the Instagram's the goat wine, obviously. So if people want to check that out, they can.
Yeah. Wow, so cool. And that's where I got that, for everybody listening, that's where I got that excerpt that I read in the beginning. And it just, like, go out there. The how is not the issue. Just, figure out your why. Why do you want to do these things? You can learn the how. And, like, I didn't know any, like, start a podcast, learn from other people, go out there and you can make it happen. But, like, have the conversation. Be willing to talk about it and, get past it and be vulnerable and share your story. I 100% agree on that. So, well, like I said, I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, too.
See ya.
See ya.